Myself though, I tend to do an awful lot of bit fishing. Little tiny baits like this are my game. However, we're going to cross now to Hardwick Lake to visit an exceptional angler, Steve Renyard. Guy's been around for quite a while now, and it was actually his first visit to the water. Now, I've known Steve for quite a while, and Steve's game is bait application. He likes to put the bally in.
Hello everybody, here we are on Hardwick Lake, a very, very windy and cold day. You'll have to excuse the sound quality maybe, I don't know whether it's going to sound too bad or not. Come down for a few days filming. I've been a Richworth consultant for I think about 4 years now. Been very, very successful, had a very successful time with their baits. I'm like most of you, probably watching this video, a weekend angler. I've got a full-time job and a family, you know, my time is basically at the weekend, so you know, when I went to Richworth, I knew that their baits were quality. It just took out all the rolling element for me, you know, during the week, so I could just pick up my gear and go on a Friday and, you know, sort of come back on a Sunday and didn't have to worry about all the hassle of that, you know. Basically I use probably just 2 of their baits. I use the complex and the multiplex. Been very, very successful with the multiplex. The complex is a new one. It's a fish meal bait with a crab flavour and robin red, which is an all-time great. Quite a few of Richworth's little secrets, which they don't like telling anyone about, but it makes the bait very, very good. They do it in a variety of sizes, 14mm, 18mm, 10mm. They do dumbbells and paste. These were the baits I chose for Hardwick. You know, I knew that probably quite a lot of this bait's gone in already because it's a Richworth linear fishery. A lot of you guys are probably, you know, already buying the bait and bunging it in the lake already, so I thought, well, I might as well use those too and give it a go. Come down for a 3-night session. The first night I was here, I fished in the Smith's half, quite deep, you know. It was quite still and warm then, and the fish was cruising about, so I decided to stick in the margins. So I put on my pair of waders and had a little feel about in the margins and fished very, very close, you know, under the rod tips and down to the right hand side of my margin. Within about 3 hours I had a run, and unfortunately the hook pulled. And I think when the wind changed, the fish sort of moved out, so we decided to come on what it's called the Spit, I believe. It's a part of the lake that splits Smiths and Hardwick in two. I'm not actually fishing on the Spit. What I've decided to do is fish halfway along over to the far margin where the wind was pushing into, onto the conveyor bank part. They call it the conveyor part. It's where they used to convey all the gravel to take it off for cleaning and desilting and whatever. I don't think they use it for that now, but as you can see from the film, you'll see where I mean. Basically I had 3 areas I was fishing. I put all 3 on the far margin primarily because you know, we're fishing in the summer and there's quite deep holes in Hardwick. It's quite a deep lake and I didn't want to be fishing too deep, so I decided to fish the margins. On the first night I caught a 19.5 linear, which was one of the old original stock, I was told by Mr. Ian Paul, who's quite an authoritarian on the Hardwick fish. So I was quite chuffed with that. It was a double linear one side and a linear the other. Very hard fighting fish. Fortunately, the first fish I caught, the linear, was about 5 o'clock, 5:30 in the morning, so it was light, and Len managed to get most of the fight on camera. And some good footage of the fish, so I was quite chuffed with that. It was a good start, you know, being that I'd never fished the water before, so I didn't know what to expect. You'll have to excuse me, I'm suffering as I always do with hay fever, so if I sound a bit, you know, a bit stuffed up, that's because I am. So I was chuffed with that. Anyway, the fish the next day, uneventful, a few liners, you know, and the next morning, about 3:30 in the morning, I had another take. That turned out to be a 17-pound common, very old fish. it's not going to be one of the big ones in Hardwick, and it's not one of the big ones in Hardwick, but it was a welcome visitor anyway, you know, keeps the confidence going, you know, the bait's working. I'd like to run through what I've been doing on Hardwick. Basically, as I say, I'm fishing the far margins, and I'm not actually casting into the spots because I wanted to place them. It's a very small ledge that runs along there before it drops off fairly deep. So what I've been doing is detaching the rig and actually casting the lead over onto the far bank, walking around with halibut pellets and a little bit of sweet corn and some 10mm and 14mm complex, and actually wading into the lake till I'm up to the top of my chest waders. Actually gone over my waders 3 times. I've taken a bit of a soaking because the wind was so bad, and finding a spot about 7 foot deep. I was taking my landing net and actually putting it into the silt before it sort of dropped off on the 7 foot part, and going back to attaching my rig and literally just dropping it off and putting about 3 or 4 handfuls of halibut pellet over the top, a little bit of sweet corns, a couple of handfuls of 10mm and about 20 14mm baits. You know perfectly well that the rig's not tangled, it's bang on in the spot that you want it to, and it's worked for me. It's almost called, you know, ambush style. You know, I've not put a lot of bait in, I've not over baited. If the fish were really having it, I think I'd have put more boilies out, but they're not particularly, you'd have thought with the wind as it was, but they're not particularly having it. There's been a couple of the, you know, sort of very good anglers fishing the place, and it's not been happening for them. So I thought it's, you know, it's not going to be the time to put a lot of bait in. I think most people get an idea of how much bait to put in and when not to put it in, you know, and that was just what I decided to go with, and it's worked for me. So following on from the 17 common, suffering with hay fever and being up half the night, I had a little snooze about midday, and about 12 o'clock, 12:30, and a bit of a funny take, a bit of an odd, peculiar take. It wasn't a full-blown run. It's a wise old fish decided to pick up my rig and just sort of lifted me bobbing up it went, down it came, up it went, and I thought, oh, maybe it was a bream, so I struck into it, and 20-minute battle ensued. Very strong fish, and as I say, about 20 minutes later, 32.5 pound of beautiful scaly linear carp rolled over my net. That happened to be my 55th English 30, and what a fish to do it with, you know. I was very, very pleased with that one. That's what I came for. I'd seen the magazine, seen the brochures, seen the pictures, and always wanted to catch one of these Hardwick carp, and I managed to do it on my first trip, so I'm very pleased with that.
Awesome. Hardwick Lake, give me a lot of pleasure. First trip. Can't knock that. 3 carp so far. 32.5.
Just like to show you that rig. This is a rig I've mainly used for most of my carp fishing. I'll show you the rig without the stringer on it. It just makes it a little bit easier. Basically, what I use is either multiplex or complex, either one, whichever suits your fancy. They're both blinding baits. If I can get this stringer off, I'm using a pop-up combined with a bottom bait, and I soak the pop-up so they don't actually hold the bottom bait up. This is a very slow sinking bait, slow sinking rig. I'm using the Gardner Subterfuge 12 pound nylon. It's knotless knotted in a different way, because you do 8 turns on the 8 turns over the hair, and then take it underneath the hair and then do 8 turns the other side, so it actually pushes the hair out at an angle, pushing the hook up at a different angle. Basically, you thread the bottom bait on first, and then you put a pop-up on, and what this does, it makes the bait sink very, very slowly, and what happens once the bait's been in the water a while, that actually can slide, and what happens is it slides up and it sits like that, almost like a snowman, but there's a gap between the pop-up and the bottom bait. And if the carp sucks up from this way, the boilie does slide up and down very, very easy, as you can see. And the carp sucks it, it goes up like so, and when the carp blows it back out, it actually pushes the hook down and causes a gap. So it's a very good anti-eject rig. As I say, it's worked for me. It's very, very simple to tie. It's almost invisible on the bottom. You know, it's just a rig I've just used for so long. It's a very lazy man's rig, if you like, but it's very, very effective. Very good hook holds. That's about all I can say on that rig. So I'll just show you another couple of rigs. I mean, basically I've got the same